Welcome back to the channel, basketball fans. Today, we have a monumental breakdown that every single supporter of Gilas Pilipinas, every fan of the Australian Boomers, and every observer of international FIBA basketball absolutely needs to hear. We are looking at a massive paradigm shift in the Asian qualifiers for the 2027 FIBA Basketball World Cup. The headlines are blazing across sports networks, and the reality on hardwood is even more intense than the rumors suggest. The absolute truth of the matter is that the upcoming and ongoing clashes featuring Guam versus Gilas Pilipinas are events that demand to be experienced live. You need to feel the palpable energy of the arena, the roar of the crowd, and the tension of the stakes, rather than just catching the highlights on your phone the next morning. But that is only the beginning of the story today. The absolute blockbuster revelation we are diving into, the tactical reality that is sending shockwaves through the international basketball community, is that the Australian Boomers, the perennial titans of the Asia-Pacific region, the powerhouse squad that has historically dominated this hemisphere with ruthless efficiency, are already at a severe, multi-layered disadvantage as they prepare to step onto the court against Gilas Pilipinas on Philippine soil. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Boomers, ranked among the elite in the world, are walking into an absolute gauntlet, and Gilas Pilipinas holds all the crucial cards. To understand the magnitude of the situation, we have to zoom out and look at the brutal, unforgiving landscape of the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers. We are not just talking about exhibition games. We are talking about survival, the road to the 2027 FIBA World Cup in Qatar, and subsequently the path to the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles, runs directly through these grueling, high-stakes qualification windows. Every single possession matters. Every single defensive stop is a matter of national pride and tournament life. Head coach Tim Cohn has made it abundantly clear. If Gilas does not secure victories in these early windows, the dream of the World Cup vanishes. And if the World Cup dream vanishes, the Olympic dream dies with it. The margin for error is absolutely zero. This is exactly why the matchup between Guam and Gilas Pilipinas is far more than just a regional rivalry. It is a foundational stepping stone. It is a crucible where the chemistry, the defensive rotations, and the offensive hierarchy of the Philippine national team are forged under real pressure. Guam is not a team to be taken lightly. Led by familiar faces, including the explosive Jericho Cruz, a man who knows the Philippine brand of basketball intimately from his battles in the PBA, Guam brings physicality, pride, and a nothing-to-lose mentality that can derail an unprepared opponent. When you watch this live, you're not just watching a game. You're watching a high-stakes chess match where the Philippine side must assert its dominance to secure its standing in Group A. They must finish in the top three of this group to advance to the second round, where the groups merge and the records carry over. Every point in the differential counts. Sweeping Guam is not just a goal. It is a mathematical imperative to ensure that whatever happens against heavyweights like New Zealand and Australia, the Philippines has a fortified safety net. But let us pivot to the headline that is everyone talking. How on earth can we say that the mighty Australian Boomers are at a disadvantage against Gilas Pilipinas? To the casual observer, Australia is a basketball leviathan. They have a conveyor belt of NBA talent, a world-class domestic league in the NBL, and a physical, punishing style of play that has broken the will of countless teams on the international stage. But the FIBA qualification windows are a completely different beast. And a unique environment of the Philippines creates a perfect storm that neutralizes many of Australia's traditional strengths while amplifying the absolute best of what Gilas Pilipinas has to offer. We are looking at a convergence of scheduling constraints, roster continuity, tactical evolution under Tim Cohn, and the sheer, unadulterated psychological pressure of playing in front of the most passionate basketball fan base on the face of the earth. This is the hook, ladies and gentlemen. We are witnessing a historic leveling of the playing field. The days of the Philippines simply hoping to keep the score respectable against Australia are over. We are entering an era of legitimate contention, strategic warfare, and home court supremacy. Settle in, because we are about to tear down the narratives, analyze the X's and O's, and uncover exactly why the Boomers should be incredibly nervous about their trip to Manila. Before we dissect the Australian situation, we must thoroughly analyze the Guam matchup, because it serves as the ultimate litmus test for everything Gilas Pilipinas is trying to achieve. When we say this game is better watched live, we mean it in the truest sense of sporting theater. The dynamic of Jericho Cruz suiting up for Guam against the San Miguel Beermen teammates like June Fajardo and CJ Perez, and against PBA rivals like Scotty Thompson and Japeth Aguilar, adds a layer of absolute cinematic drama to the proceedings. Cruz himself has stated that once the ball is tipped, it is a war, it is business, but that familiarity breeds a unique type of competition. Guam relies heavily on rugged, physical perimeter play, and a heavy dose of isolation scoring. For Gilas Pilipinas, playing Guam live is about witnessing the execution of Tim Cohn's masterclass defensive system. Cohn, the winningest coach in PBA history, has transformed the national team's identity. Gone are the days of relying solely on frantic run-and-gun basketball or waiting for a hero to hit a contested three-pointer. What you see live now is a structured, disciplined, highly communicative defensive unit. You see players fighting over screens with purpose. You see the weak side help arriving exactly a half second before the offensive player makes his move. You see Kai Sato establishing his immense presence in the paint, not just as a shot blocker, but as a true defensive anchor who alters the entire geometry of the floor. Watching the Guam game live allows you to see the off-ball movement that television cameras often miss. You get to witness Justin Brownlee's incredible basketball IQ in real time. Brownlee is not just a scorer. He is the ultimate connective tissue for this team. Against a scrappy team like Guam, you see Brownlee reading the defense, anticipating the double teams, and making the extra pass that leads to a wide-open corner three for Kevin Kiambao or Dwight Ramos. You see the hustle. You see the diving for loose balls. These are the visceral elements of basketball that validate the ticket price. Furthermore, the environment in venues like the 8 Neo Blue Eagle Gym or the larger arenas in the Philippines is suffocating for a visiting team. The crowd reacts to every single play, every single defensive stop, as if it is the final possession of a championship game. For Guam, managing the emotional roller coaster of that crowd is just as difficult as managing the pick and roll. For Gilas, sweeping Guam home and away is the foundation of their entire qualification campaign. It builds the confidence, solidifies the rotations, and sends a clear message to the rest of Group A that the Philippines is handling its business with absolute professionalism and ruthlessness. Now, let us get to the absolute core of today's deep dive. Let's talk about the Australian Boomers and the immense disadvantage they face when they travel to the Philippines for these crucial qualifying windows. First and foremost, we have to talk about the nature of the FIBA qualification windows themselves. These games are played in the middle of the global club basketball seasons. This means that the Australian Boomers cannot bring their NBA superstars. There is no Patty Mills, no Josh Giddey, no Dante Exum, no Jock Landale coming to those airport doors to save the day. The Australian squad that competes in these windows is entirely reliant on players from their domestic National Basketball League, the NBL, and perhaps a few playing in other part of Asia or Europe. While the NBL is a fantastic high-level league, throwing together a roster of players who spend the majority of the year competing against each other, rather than with each other, creates an inherent lack of continuity. Contrast this with Gilas Pilipinas. Because basketball is religion in the Philippines, the entire sporting calendar of the nation, including the PBA, often bends and flexes to accommodate the national team. Tim Cohn has been given the unprecedented luxury of forming a core group of players, a dedicated pool that trains together, understands the system, and builds deep, instinctual chemistry. Players like June Fajardo, Scotty Thompson, CJ Perez, and Chris Newsom play together or against each other constantly, but under Cohn's national program, they have formed a cohesive, unified tactical understanding. They have continuity. When the FIBA window opens, Gilas is not starting from scratch. They are simply picking up where they left off. Australia, conversely, has a fraction of the time to install their offensive sets and build defensive trust. Secondly, we must talk about the environment. Playing in the Philippines is an experience that cannot be replicated anywhere else on the planet. The heat, the humidity, and the deafening, unceasing roar of the crowd create a pressure cooker that has mentally broken visiting teams for decades. The Australian Boomers, despite all their toughness, are walking into an arena where 20,000 fans will contest every single dribble, boo every single possession, and explode with volcanic energy every time Gilas scores. The psychological toll of that environment, combined with the travel fatigue of flying into Manila, navigating the notorious traffic, and adjusting to the climate, puts heavy legs on the visiting team before the opening tip even occurs. Tactically, Gilas Pilipinas has evolved to perfectly counter the traditional Australian style in these specific windows. Australia loves to play physical, half-court basketball. They love to bully teams in the paint and use heavy ball screens. But Tim Cohn's defensive philosophy is built to withstand exactly that. With Kai Sato standing at 7'3", flanked by the massive frame of Junmar Fajardo and athletic, long defenders like Japeth Aguilar and A.J. Edu, the Philippines finally has the sheer size and rim protection to look the Australians in the eye in the paint. On the perimeter, defenders like Chris Newsom and Dwight Ramos are big, strong, and highly disciplined, capable of fighting through screens and denying easy entry passes. Offensively, Gilas possesses the ultimate wild card in Justin Brownlee. In FIBA basketball, having a player who can manufacture his own shot at the end of a broken possession, is the difference between winning and losing. Brownlee is a master of the mid-range game, an area of the floor where modern defenses often concede space. When the shot clock is winding down and the Australian defense is locked in, Brownlee has the uncanny ability to elevate, hit a contested jumper, and completely deflate the opposing team. Furthermore, the emergence of Kevin Kiambao as a legitimate stretch four, capable of pulling opposing big men out of the paint with his three-point shooting, creates driving lanes that the Australian defense will struggle to plug. We also cannot ignore the historical context. The intense rivalry between these two nations is well documented. There is a deep-seated desire within the Philippine basketball community to prove that they belong on the same tier as the Boomers. The players feel this. The coaching staff feels this. Every time they step on the court against Australia, they are not just playing a game. They are fighting for respect on the global stage. This provides an intangible motivational edge that no amount of scouting or preparation from the Australian side can fully account for. The Boomers are walking into a trap because they are facing a Gilas Pilipinas team that is highly motivated, tactically sound, deeply familiar with each other, anchored by world-class eyes, and backed by the most intimidating home crowd in international basketball. The talent gap that once existed between the NBL-level Boomers and the PBA-centric Gilas squad has not just narrowed. In the specific context of a home game in Manila during a FIBA window, the advantage has decisively shifted to the Philippines. As we wrap up this extensive deep dive into the state of Group A in the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers, the narrative is crystal clear. The landscape of Asian basketball is shifting beneath our feet. The narrative that the Philippines is merely a participant, hoping to scrape by with lucky wins, is ancient history. Under masterful guidance of Tim Cohn, with the undeniable brilliance of Justin Brownlee, the towering presence of Kai Sato, and the relentless heart of the local PBA stars, Gilas Pilipinas has transformed into a legitimate, formidable force that controls its own destiny. Watching the battles against Guam live is not just a recommendation. It is an absolute necessity for anyone who wants to witness the meticulous execution of a team building its foundation for the world stage. You need to see the sweat, the defensive rotations, and the sheer will to dominate an opponent to secure that crucial point differential. It is the appetizer to the main course. And that main course is the clash against the Australian Boomers. As we have meticulously laid out today, the Boomers are staring down the barrel of a massive disadvantage. From a lack of roster continuity dictated by the FIBA windows, to the suffocating, hostile environment of the Philippine arenas, to the massive tactical leaps made by the Gilas defense, Australia is uniquely vulnerable. They are stepping into a domain where their usual physical intimidation will be met with equal force, and where their offensive execution will be tested by a crowd that refuses to let them breathe. The road to the 2027 FIBA World Cup in Qatar is long, grueling, and unforgiving. But for the first time in a very long time, Gilas Pilipinas is not just surviving the journey. They are dictating the terms of engagement. They are protecting their home court with a vengeance, and they are putting the powerhouses of the region on absolute notice. The Boomers have every reason to be concerned because the sleeping giant of Asian basketball has fully awakened, and it is hungry. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible deep dive today. If you enjoyed this level of highly detailed, comprehensive basketball analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update as we continue to track Gilas Pilipinas on their journey to the World Cup and the Olympic Games. Drop a comment down below and let me know. Do you think the Australian Boomers can survive the pressure cooker in Manila, or will Gilas Pilipinas secure the ultimate statement victory? I want to read all your thoughts and tactical predictions. Until next time, keep your passion for the game alive, and we will see you in the next video.